Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cloud Underground podcast.
Welcome.
I'm Laura, this is NATO, and this is the Cloud Underground podcast. So we thought we'd start off the show today by talking a little bit about what the Cloud Underground has been doing outside of the podcast.
Oh my goodness.
So much going on all the time, constantly, and we thought it might be nice to kind of update people on, the things. First and foremost, we have a brand new Facebook group that we just launched. So if you're out there and you want to learn more about really the technical side of cloud native, which we're going to talk more about today, and DevOps and development, and all the technical things.
Unlimited
we've
things.
got lots of really great curated content. Our CIO Randall is constantly pumping amazing content into that group, and also we're gonna start having live events in that group as well on Fridays. Every Friday you can hop in there for live events. Oh, and the podcast is gonna be coming out Wednesdays from now on. I think we're gonna try and shoot for that. It might change a day or two every now and then, but Wednesdays is gonna be podcast day, so you can always get fun, new, interesting content from the Cloud Underground. With that in mind, you should probably go ahead and subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video, give us a like. If not, you can give us a dislike. That's okay too. Feel free to comment if you want us to talk about any particular topic at any particular time, and we will address any comments that you would like addressed on air. So, yeah. Another thing that's happening at Cloud Underground. Dun, 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 dun. Is we are building the Trident. This is Nathan. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Trident, the Olympiad Trident from Cloud Underground?
So the CTO of Cloud Underground, Jordan Anderson, builds these systems. The longest time, the original model that we generally developed for business use are these dual cluster systems right here. Then we came up with something that's a little more appropriate for 24/7 use for those who are doing a little more than just development and wanting to just permanently host things, because lo and behold, it turned out that people, including us, started just hosting applications and business resources on these. And finally, we are now at the much more refined and much more this is the ultimate hosting system that's powered by not just Raspberry Pi but also Jetson Nano. It's got 2 cores, things like that.
A couple Pis
I do not build these.
Jetson Nanos.
So once again, Jordan Anderson made these, and this is the one that I get to play with. And
this is one of our first in development prototypes.
That's right. I think it's sweet, honestly.
Keep your eye out for these.
And I just have to say one thing about it, just because we're holding it. It's just so Jordan made this, and then he's like, check out this new model. And then the first thing that ended up coming to mind, everything is just video games. I don't know if that's its purpose was not to play video games with, or that's not what we made it for.
It does look like a console a little bit though, right? I mean, it's got that feel a little bit.
Yeah, so I was like, oh man. So I know it's a business server. It's literally a cloud native business server.
Yeah.
But I'm going to build Minecraft on it and just have
it's gonna be a
Minecraft world
server
that I can do whatever I want with, because why not? And maybe we can all play together at some point. But anyways, it's our gear just keeps getting much more upgraded. Thanks again, Jordan Anderson, because honestly, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing, honestly.
It's incredible.
So cool.
And do we want to talk about where people can take a look at
of course.
Jordan's work?
Yeah, so we have an Etsy shop, which we have linked below in the description of this video, which you can go and purchase. We have single Pi computers and dual Pi clusters, little supercomputers that are hand built by us, by Jordan, and you can buy those on Etsy. So go check it out.
Literally build them. So it's like like screws, 3D printing, all of it. Like, once again, Jordan Anderson does all of that, so I don't want anyone I'm not going to take the credit for that. He does outstanding work.
Yeah, it's super cool. And it's just constantly evolving, so just stay tuned. All right, so moving on, I thought we should, as we usually do here on Cloud Underground podcast, talk about some news items. Got some fun, interesting things going on. The first, our last episode, we were talking a little bit about people coming back into the office in a kind of, post-COVID world. I don't know that we're really post-COVID quite yet, but what that's going to be looking like as people are starting to migrate back into offices. We mentioned a little bit too that some people are kind of reticent to do that, not super excited to go back to traditional office settings.
It's while there are a lot of people who don't mind offices and might like things about the office, even like folks who are like, I don't know, I could go either way, and then you have the category of people who are just like, I can't go back to an office ever again. And of course there are people who like offices, but
it's been something. I think there's also this element of it too, where it's been kind of a tense year, and I think people don't like really trust other people that much too. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like some of us have been kind of a little bit like isolationist, and so it's hard to like think about being around a lot of other people again.
After all year,
and you have people who are just like less respectful of other people in those situations. And anyway, so the article that I wanted to talk about today was about how there's kind of a little bit of a trend of like people, okay, of course we all know that there was this huge rush to buy homes during COVID. Like, demand for homes, I feel like, was really high. I personally have a number of friends who bought homes during the pandemic, or who gave up trying to because it was like so crazy where they were at to even like try and purchase a home. So anyway, but in this this trend of people like buying homes, a lot of people are kind of deciding that they want to settle in places that aren't necessarily like near where their job is. We've all been working remotely for so long, and a lot of companies are kind of embracing that to a certain extent and not requiring their employees come into an office anymore, or just maybe like a couple times a month, or maybe not at all, maybe just for like major events or whatever. And so there's kind of a wave of people who are committing to do these kind of long like air commutes to work when they have to go, and the rest of the time are going to be like living far away far away from their jobs, and in a place that they're either like close to family, or they're able to buy a house, or housing was more affordable, or it was just an area that they wanted to live in versus the town where their job is located. So I think
flexibility. Yeah,
I think there was a certain amount of people kind of reassessing what they valued during the pandemic as well.
Sure.
It's like, okay, if you can't go out and you can't go to a job and you can't socialize with people, like what are the things that matter? It's like your environment is kind of an important thing, and so you might as well live someplace where you're close to family if that's something that you value, or have a strong, close to the outdoors if that's something you value, or just in a place that you feel like it aligns with you. So I think it's kind of an interesting trend, and it'll be interesting to see how that kind of like impacts the future of work.
I wonder how much of it too comes from, because with people not spending money that they might spend going out or doing certain things, even if they still did to an extent, there's so many things that were locked down that it's not someone's choice if their favorite breakfast place suddenly it was like closed for a couple
I think
months.
there's definitely an element of that.
It's like forced savings.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to look into that actually, because
people.
I do feel like certain things. I mean,
it's like the things that you spend money on, you suddenly like end up saving all this money.
It kind of shifts, I think. You're not spending money on going out, but you might be spending money on, your home office or something. I don't know.
I imagine like those spendings, they probably go into something, because then people are like, what should I? Well, look at the
making the perfect sourdough bread or something.
Look at the availability of the PlayStation 5. I bet.
Electronics. That's been crazy. The electronics shortage is
that's where
a real
people have been
deal.
spending the money. They're like, oh yeah, these scalpers are charging 3 times the price. That doesn't sound crazy to me. I'm going to support that market so that it keeps happening. Yeah. Of course. Oh, that somehow sounds logical to me. So I will continue to support scalpers. Let's go. Hey.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
People do what works. So if you don't like something,
don't support scalpers.
Yeah. Oh goodness, that's wild.
Yeah, anyway, it's just been an interesting time. We're living in interesting times.
So interesting. There's a big question of, let me just address this, is like, why do cloud native applications matter? And if we're talking about cloud native, what is cloud native? It's a type of application, right? Or a way of hosting applications, however have you. If you were to Google Cloud Native Computing Foundation, you'll find a significant amount of resources. And then the things that, why might we actually care about this is like, realistically, cloud native applications for cloud apps help you gain a competitive advantage, and my memory's not good enough to remember these things, so I'm just trying to read some things here.
Yeah, read away. It's cool.
We want to keep in mind that cloud native applications are designed to make it to where if something might be an environment where we might have remote workers working at home or multiple offices or things like that. A lot of why we have cloud in the first place is to make it easier to collaborate when centralization, especially physical centralization, is difficult. And so it makes it easier for teams to work together when you build with cloud native types of applications in mind, because say like the computer sitting at the office can also live on the desk of the admin's home, or every single developer have their own systems, and then all of them be secure and have something called zero trust, so that the ecosystem that the devs have lacks trust to all of the different dev environments, and I mean just crazy stuff. Like, it just gives you granularity, flexibility. And what this means is that people can develop applications much faster without worrying about failures at the same time, which sounds maybe like borderline impossible. But it's not impossible to have faster and more resilient development processes. Sometimes it's a little slower up front, but if you're not using something that charges you when you're in development mode, like AWS, use AWS for your production systems. But you can just use your laptop or a little server on your desk, or just some little tiny thing to just start developing, and just build stuff right away and start doing business with people right away. It just makes it faster to do business regardless of what you have available to you.
Yeah, you can spin up a little development machine pretty easily and affordably, and start developing right away. It's not very difficult. We can attest to that because that's kind of what we do and what our whole business has been based around. So
yeah, it's kind of hard to figure out how to make it consumable. Maybe if I could figure out how to explain it, but you can make things faster that are more resilient, and then it also means you can, if you want to make something to sell, you can build something quickly know it's going to be resilient, generally secure, and then you can start selling it with peace of mind rapidly with fewer resources, and then you don't have to worry about scale, because historically, if you're buying a business server to sell your apps on, you have to like make sure you get a big enough server that's going to last you whatever your business cycle is, which could be like 3 years or already that's a lot. Already me just going down that rabbit hole of how to prepare your one giant server. Cloud Native says start with what you need and scale as you need, and just if you need more stuff, just add more resources and done.
You don't have to overdevelop.
That's right. It's like basically the idea that multiple servers are one server. So, and that's called clustering, and then that's what gives us cloud. And then Cloud Native gives us a certain type of way to do cloud.
So explain a little bit. So it seems like with the cluster, they're all working together, and it's like one big like hive mind, right?
Yeah, it's like a collaborative environment, and then the developer gets to decide how to structure the thing.
Yeah, and the reason that it's resilient is that because it's kind of like this big hive mind, the information lives across like multiple devices. So if one goes down, the rest of the hive still exists. The rest of the swarm or cluster or whatever that you want to call it is still up and running, and that data isn't lost. It's still in the hive mind.
Yeah, exactly. And then in the idea of like if there are different people in multiple locations and you have a cloud where like the hive mind lives in more than just one physical location, because it's one thing to have like, hey, you have 3 servers at your home or in your office and then they all work together as one. Well, if we then expand that out and say, oh, well, what if we add a new location, or maybe like another coworker who's like a developer needs resources, send them something to integrate into the cloud from there, and then the system in those separate locations, then what we call that is edge computing, because then the environment living in all locations is the same computer, which is really confusing. But yeah, and that's edge computing, and that's also related.
Yeah,
to
no,
it's
it's all related.
It's all exciting.
Exists in the cloud.
It's the most exciting stuff ever.
So, Nato, what do you think is the biggest advantage of using a cloud native development platform?
Well, to be blunt, you can start at any size, and you can scale infinitely from whatever you can get with like.
Yeah, you can start with 1 Pi, you can start with 2 Pis.
Yeah.
You can cluster 5,000 Pis together and then have 5,000 clusters of 5,000 Pis.
Yeah, and before we get too far into the technical weeds of it all, like the benefit there is like, let's say that you are a student who wants to like maybe build some hosting someday after you learn how the environment works, or let's say that
it's great for hands-on education.
Yeah, or let's say that you are a business professional and you're trying to decide what infrastructure you need, but you also just need to get going. You just need some infrastructure, you just need to start building. Well, with Cloud Native, you can actually just start building with what is more available to you, which is why like you can start building with like Raspberry Pis.
Yeah, they're super affordable. They're easy to scale.
Yeah,
and they're readily available.
Like if you ever want to talk, like in the past, now it's one thing if you can afford some giant, massive, beefy server, but at some point you're going to have to like grow, because when you get more users, for those who aren't technical, when you start bringing users onto, say, like a server of any size, you need more resources when you start getting too many users. And so for those who are less technical, it's like, in a conventional environment, then it's like, oh no, you have to then take what's on here and migrate it to a larger machine. As to where these, you can just like add resources. And then after, maybe you need more room, and you can just add resources, and then you just add infinitely. And so that's why, like, even for us, we can build a Minecraft server on here, and that's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna just start getting people on the Minecraft server just because you can, and you can, we don't have to worry about, well, we need to make sure it can accommodate X amount of, we don't have to worry about that. We can just start, quickly. We don't like any of that stuff. We can just start adding as needed. It's much more headache free.
Yeah.
In that sense. I love cloud native.
It's amazing. It's so cool. It's like really too. It's kind of the wave of the future. It's where things are going, and so I think it is important to start learning these sorts of skills.
And if you've ever done online gaming like I like to, it can be really frustrating when you're like in the middle of a grind and then all of a sudden you have outages. And some games, as some of you out there who do game might know, you might have gotten like progress on a mission where like if you don't complete the mission, then you like don't get to keep all the loot. And then it'll be like right at the end, and all of a sudden, like server outages, and you're just like, oh, and then it's like you were doing it for like 3 hours.
Oh gosh.
Well,
that
you
sounds
know,
terrible.
In a cloud native world, the servers in the gaming worlds don't have to go down because you can maintain these things without it going down, which is why I'm building a Minecraft server on this. Because if I have to do maintenance on my Minecraft world while I'm like trying to play my game, I don't have to lose my mind. I can just keep playing my game and deal with the fact that half of the environment just got destroyed and is completely dead, and I'll deal with it later.
Yeah. Deal with it later.
Deal with it later. Keep gaming, and you know, I think gaming's a good, I don't know, if you can game on it, business is less intensive than gaming, so shoot. If I can do it for business, if it's good enough for gaming, I'll let everyone know, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And you can use it for anything if you can game with it, so.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other thing about, you know, as particularly the machines that we build is, like, it's super versatile. You can kind of develop whatever your imagination can like dream up to a certain extent, right?
Oh yeah, I guess the other thing I didn't say about like the scaling thing, it like if you have enough of these, if one goes offline, that's what I was talking about. Is like they're resilient. This is actually 3 servers in one, so I don't know if we said that at all. So
yes,
on
we
one,
did.
on one,
oh, you
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just one. That's a Jetson Nano, and then there's 2 Raspberry Pis on the back. So, anyways, if like one of these systems dies, that's one of the joys of this is what's called a Phoenix server. I actually made a Phoenix server video on my NATO as Code channel, so I won't talk about that right now.
Here. Yeah, you can go check out that video if you want to learn more about Phoenix servers.
Phoenix servers. It's the stuff we talk about
Get
in
into
the DevSecOps
weeds.
Dojo.
So Nathan, what do we recommend for people who want to learn more about cloud native computing, particularly professionals in the development space?
So, for those who like to self-learn, there's a lot of resources out there, but for those who really want to get real serious and want a lot more of like a hands-on guided way to kind of start working with other people like us.
Your hands dirty.
Yeah, get your hands dirty, work with developers
jump right in.
like us, you know. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start doing some developers like us talks because I run what's called the DevSecOps Dojo, where I talk about how to build cloud native. You could think of it as like a side job for education. So, you know, some people want to learn with classes, some people want to learn with certificates, and some people want to run a side gig as education, and that's where the DevSecOps Dojo comes in. So every Thursday, I basically focus on dedicated members, and we are opening applications to the DevSecOps Dojo for folks who are trying to learn basically how to go all the way from like building cloud native applications to, you know, releasing things, but really it's more about folks who want a certain lifestyle. So if you're sort of entrepreneurial and you like to just build things and you want to be in an environment with other entrepreneurial developers who are rather senior, the DevSecOps Dojo is not for beginners. We are opening up applications, but the applications are going to require vetting, so we are not going to be letting very many people into the DevSecOps Dojo.
Yeah, slots are very limited.
Yeah, just limited
yeah.
time and limited resources. So
yeah,
we
you can go ahead and check out the application. It's a Google form link. We'll also link to the DevSecOps Dojo page on our website, which just has even more information about how that program works. It is meant to be long term, kind of come in and learn a lot for like a few years and essentially build a product that you can then like take to the world, invent your own thing.
It generally takes about it's set on a 3-year business plan. And I've been operating on 3-year development cycles for a long time now. So it's the DevSecOps Dojo is me teaching in that 3-year format that I have developed in for so long. And also it's, how did we build Notia Point? How did we monetize it? How do we do all that stuff? It's not something that I invented. It's not magic. It's tried true practices that get results and things that work. And for folks who want to be around that and who are already trying to build things, then this might be something for you. But like I said, I'm really looking for people who this really is a big part of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a commitment. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, go check out the application. There are a few technical requirements within that, but it's all laid out for you there. So go check out that link. And like we were saying earlier, you can purchase a Olympiad development cluster or single Raspberry Pi development server on our Etsy shop, which is linked down below. So go check that out if that's something that you're interested in working on. We have both. This is it's not reading super well with our configuration right now, but this is the Cloud Underground version, and then we also have the Olympiad. There's 2 different case cover types that you can choose from. Once again, all in our Etsy shop.
Yeah.
So there you go. Thanks for coming to another episode of the Cloud Underground podcast. As always, like, subscribe, and leave us a comment if there's anything that piqued your interest, or if you have any thoughts on any of the topics we talked about today, or if you have any ideas for things that you'd like us to talk about in future episodes.
Yeah.
So thanks for stopping by.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Always a good time.
Yes, always. We'll see you next week.